morning. Happy Monday. This morning the kid woke up at 6:30 a.m., which is what the time we aim for, and I fed him last time before he goes to the babysitter, and my husband took him and they left the house around 6:45. So then that's when I went and took a shower, brushed my teeth, and now I'm getting ready. It's Monday morning and we had so many festivities and the kid hasn't been sleeping, so I'm just extra tired. It was a little harder to get up this morning, so I'm just gonna go into the office about half an hour later than I usually do, but then I'll leave half an hour later. We have flex time.
So I packed my lunch into the cooler bag along with the ice pack and the 2 Amita bottles. And put the cooler bag in my backpack. And then I assemble the Freemie cups. There I am attaching the funnel piece and then the valve piece to the breast shield piece. And then we're going to close it out with the actual cup. And then we'll do the same with the other side as well. These are very easy to assemble. As you can tell, the pieces are large and there's only 4 of them. And then once you hear the snapping sound, you are good to go.
Important tip. This is like my morning coffee, my morning cup of coffee. I always down a cup of water before I leave the house, just to get my body hydrating. So it's about 7:50. My commute is 40 minutes long, so I need to get the hell out of here. I made it! God, that felt like the longest drive of my life. All right, first pump break of the day. It's 9:30, and it's about 3 hours from the last time I emptied my boob when I fed the kid at 6:30 a.m. this morning. First thing I do is I take my tubing out in our pumping room. I have my own pump here in my bag, and I use it sometimes, but if I'm in our lactation room, then I use the hospital grade Amita Platinum pump, because it's quieter, and it's a hospital grade pump. It's supposed to be the best, and it's provided to us for free, so of course I use it. I stick my tubing, just jam it in there, and in a plastic bag I take. Your hands, make sure when you're touching your pump parts or going to pump anything, always wash your hands. Always wash your hands, or if not, sanitize them, because you're touching, your pump parts. So then take my Freemie cup, slide it right in there. Okay. I take my Freemie cup here. Get it into place, and I don't feel like running. I mean, it's a private room, so I don't feel like running the tubing under my shirt. I'm just gonna let it stick out the front. So just stick that there. I powder it up, and I've done a lot of experimentation trials with the speed and suction, so I find that for me what works is if I set it to 15% and let it pump for a bit to get my letdown going. See how quiet that is? It's so quiet. That's why I love using this pump. One thing I forgot to mention too that I didn't do, I totally forgot. I like to shake my boobs. Shake it before you put in the Freemie cups. It will kind of get the milk circulating and warmed up and ready for the letdown. So we're still waiting for the letdown. Milk has let down. So I changed the speed. I brought it down to 55 and I increased the suction to 30%. The way that I determined that was that one day I just watched how the speed of how my son was nursing, and I kind of mimicked that, and that's the speed that I ended up with. I'll usually pump for 15 minutes, and usually I get 2 letdowns during that time. But if I'm coming close to 15 minutes and I feel that there's another letdown that could possibly come, then I'll pump for 20 minutes. I work for a university that promotes a family-friendly environment, so we have a lactation program on campus, and we have about 40 lactation rooms around campus, and I've used about 3 of them depending on where I work, the location I'm working at that day.
So my 20 minutes are up, and I pulled the tubing out, and then I turn up the suction all the way to max so that sometimes the tubing gets some condensation in it, so this way it'll clean out while I'm getting the milk prepped. So then I pull out the milk, or the Freemie cups, from my bra. And then I like to just do a courtesy squeeze for each breast to get all of them, the rest of the excess milk out. And here I am pouring the first cup in, and here's the second cup. I pour them together, combine, and you can see that I only pumped 2.5 ounces, which is a low output day. So then I will put the cover on and put it into my cooler pack. And then I will go ahead and rinse the pump parts. I just rinse it with warm water. No soap is necessary. The lactation consultant has assured me that breast milk has antibacterial properties, and then I'll stow it away into the fridge, even though there's a cooler pack, just to be safe. And then I've designated my clean, air dry space to be a drawer near my desk area. I'll carefully close it, and then I'll put in the Ziploc bag in another drawer, leave it open so that it can dry as well. Then it's back to work. It's time to sanitize the hands again. And then I will get my now dry Ziploc bag and my dried out parts. I'm going to assemble them because it's time for the second pump session.
So pump break number 2, it's 12:30. Some tips that have worked for me when it comes to pumping specifically with the Freemie cups is when you're preparing to go back to work, make sure you spend at least the month before building your stash in your freezer, because you're gonna need it. With the stress and the tiredness of the day, of the work day, and being away from your baby, it can negatively affect your milk output. Like my milk output is different all the time. Sometimes I get a lot. More often than not, I don't pump enough. So having a substantial stash amount of frozen breast milk is always a good thing. Like I mentioned before, drink lots and lots of water. Cannot stress that enough. Make sure you empty your bladder right before you pump, because that's the most relaxed you'll be. That's something that I discovered for myself. Keep calm. That's very important. If you're stressed or anxious, or your mind is going 100 miles an hour, which mine is always doing, then it's going to be hard to let down. Also, you want to make sure you're getting enough rest. I know that's hard to do, especially when you're a working mom, but try to get a lot of rest. If I find that I'm having a particularly difficult time letting the milk down, then pictures and video of your kid definitely works for me. There's one video in particular where he's cracking up, and that video always gets me to let down. Because you're feeding another human being, you want to make sure you're feeding yourself, so make sure you're eating a lot. Take in those calories, ladies. Being distracted. So especially if I'm stressing out at work, I just surf the web or watch videos or watch a quick Netflix show, something, and to keep my mind off of things, and that helps me relax. And stay warm is another tip. If you're cold, the milk will not come out. I know this because if I have to walk over to the lactation room and it's a cold day and I don't have a jacket, I pump like nothing. 2.5 ounces for this pump session. It's the third and final pumping session of the day. I went back to work at 4 months. My baby was taking 3 bottles with 4 ounces of breast milk in each bottle. When he started solids, I lessened his milk to 3.5 ounces. Still 3 bottles, but just less of a less amount of milk in there, and that's been fine for him because he has 2 to 3 small solid meals throughout the day at the babysitters as well. So here I have my 2 bottles from the first and second pump session, and they've now been chilled. So now I'm going to combine both of them into 1 bottle to make room for the milk that I pumped in my 3rd session. If I pumped more milk than can fit into 1 bottle, I will put the excess into a freezer bag. But today was particularly a low milk output day, so I don't have to worry about that. This time I pumped almost 4 ounces. 10 ounces is what I want to leave with at the end of the day because that's all I need for the baby's food the next day, the baby's bottles the next day. So then I'll fill these bottles up, but any extra that can't fit into these 2 bottles, I'll put into here, into these pouches. I'll usually put 1 to 3 ounces depending on how much extra I pump. Sometimes I pump a lot, sometimes I don't. Like today, I really didn't pump that much. I had a low milk output day. So then this would go into the freezer. In the freezer, I'll pull the portion out that I need to get to 10 ounces for his food for tomorrow, if that makes sense. I'll explain more later. This time I washed just 1 Freemie cup and I'm air drying the other set, and you'll see why. I worked a little later than I wanted to, but my goal is I don't want to be home later than 6:30 so that I can be home in time to feed the kid, prepare his dinner. There's been times when I've had to work late and my husband has to distract the kid long enough so that he'll be okay by the time I get home. So, see you at home. Hi, baby! First things first, the milk is going straight into the fridge. Make sure they stay nice and cool. Ice pack goes back into the freezer. And then if you look down here, there is my tiny freezer stash. It was much larger before when I first started. So when I get home, I made it a habit to pump the other side while my baby nurses. This ensures that my body is producing the most milk it possibly can without overproducing. I get to connect with my baby and I get some extra milk. Or it helps me play catch up to make up the milk that I need if I have a low output day. And I got about 1 ounce, 1.5 ounces this time. Now it's time for bottle prep. So I'll fill up a Tommy Tippy cup to 4 ounces. I'll put in a drop of the recommended D drops. We use baby D drops, easy peasy. Keep filling it up till I reach the 4 ounce mark. And there I put the cover, and I have 1 bottle that is ready to go. Next, I'll combine all the chilled milk together in 1 bottle, and I'll pour the freshly pumped out milk into the available bottle. Close it up, and then I'll put everything back in the fridge so that the warm milk can be chilled. I have only 4 Tommy Tippy bottles. 1 is in the fridge and the other 3 needs to be washed because they were used at the babysitters. So here I am using the Tommy Tippy bottle sanitizer, I believe that's what it's called. Goes in the microwave for 6 minutes so it sanitizes, and it comes out piping hot. Be careful. And it goes onto the dryer rack so that they can dry and be filled with milk again.
I'm gonna get you! I'm gonna get you! Boom!
Hello. Around 8:30 p.m. I've nursed the kid 1 more time before going to bed. It took a while, but he finally went to bed. And then I made the mistake of falling asleep. Laying next to him and falling asleep. So now it's 1:30 a.m. time to finish prepping his bottles.
The bottles are dry, so they're ready to be filled with milk. Since the milk has been sitting in the fridge, I give them a gentle swirl to get all of the fat and the hind milk that gets caught on the edges back mixed into the milk. Then I'll fill up 1 bottle to 4 ounces. And I'll fill the excess in the other bottle. The kid is currently content using stage 2 of the Tummy Tippy nipples. If they're a breastfed baby, they don't necessarily have to follow the stages per se. You just want to make sure that the baby is using the slowest flow bottle that they'll tolerate so that they don't feel like they're still hungry after they finish a bottle. You want to make sure that the nipple mimics how the baby takes milk from you when you're nursing. Now I have 3 bottles of fresh milk in the fridge. Remember, 1 bottle is only partially filled with fresh milk. And to make up the rest of it, I'm going to go into my frozen stash and I'm going to look for the amount of ounces that I need to fill the bottle to 4 ounces. In this case, I just need 1 ounce. So I'm going to go ahead and stick it in the fridge so it can thaw overnight. This is the best way to thaw breast milk. And then of course I'm going to prepare his solids as well. I put them into those glass containers. And then finally, cleaning the pump parts.
Mother's milk, I drink this every day, and I think it helps. I think I see a difference that it helps to with your milk output. So let's make sure you get this tea too.
Parts are clean and ready for the next day.
Before I go back to sleep, I just wanted to say that being a pumping, working mom is definitely an adjustment. It may not be the easiest thing, but you have to think it's the best nutrition for your baby. It's also cost effective, so it's really a win-win. You just gotta adjust your life to accommodate that change. And I've been doing it for 5 months and it's been wonderful. Yeah, there are good days and there are bad days, but in the end, you know you're giving your child the best that you can and you're able to, so why not? It's almost 2 a.m. I'm gonna go back to sleep because in a couple hours I'm gonna do this whole thing all over again. Good night.